Hi angels, it's Hailey Reese, and I hope that you guys are ready for yet another spooky video here today, because from what I've seen as far as this story goes, it looks like it's going to be a chilling one. And I thought, what better place than to read it here on my channel, because I like to read these stories with you guys. It makes me feel like I'm reading with my friends and family, which I totally am, and it also leaves room for different theories and different thoughts and just more opinions. So yeah, that is what we're gonna be doing today. I was on Reddit. As you guys know, I have a little bit of an addiction to reading spooky stories on there, when I stumbled across this one story that was only posted 8 hours ago. I only read like the first few sentences, if that, got an idea about what it was about, and I was like, we need to read this. The original story is actually titled Pretty Little Thing, and I will have it linked down in the description. However, I did not title my video that because YouTube kind of has a lot of videos about a clothing company named Pretty Little Thing, and I didn't want to mix up the premise of this video. So without further ado, we are going to dive headfirst into this story. Like I said, it is a spooky one, and I can't wait to share it. Before we get into today's video though, you guys know I have to shameless promo for like 1 minute, not even. I am uploading here every single day on my channel for this whole month, so if you enjoy my content, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button and join the Reese's Pieces. I'm also uploading every single day on my vlog channel too, which is linked in the description. So that's my shameless promo. If you enjoy me, or if you enjoy my videos and you want to see more of me this holiday season, make sure you join our family, because we would love nothing more than to have you. But for real this time, let's get into this story. So like I said, it's titled Pretty Little Thing. My 5-year-old daughter Isabel ran inside from the creek one morning. She was out of breath and covered in mud. I wanted to scold her for playing in the water. I wanted to get her cleaned, dressed, and dried for school before the bus came in 20 minutes. But before I could, she held up a piece of bone right in front of my eyes, with a cute smile prepared and a sassy comment already in mind. Look who I met, Daddy. He has a name. I call him Pretty Little Thing. By the size and shape, I could immediately tell my daughter was holding one half of a human skull. I tried not to panic. That took superhuman strength in and of itself. I took the proper steps to the best of my limited ability and grabbed some paper towels. I slipped the skull from Izzy's hand and threw it into a plastic grocery bag. Then I called the cops. My daughter didn't like that. In fact, Izzy screamed and shouted over my apparent betrayal for the entirety of the next hour. Trauma and drama aside, I couldn't figure out the reason behind the tantrum. Isabel had always been a good kid. As a single parent, I thanked God for that. My mother often referred to her as Daddy's little girl, and family friends often complimented me for having such a polite child. We never fought as bad as that day, and it was all over my handing over human remains to the police. Nevertheless, the authorities arrived and took the skull, with gratitude, within an hour. They promised to examine the origin and cause of death. A plainclothes detective took me aside during my daughter's interview. He tried to explain the situation calmly. These things happen, he said, more than you would think. There was no reason to be alarmed. Sometimes people's bodies don't pop up for decades. I thanked them and told the detective to contact me only if needed. That was for Izzy's sake. I did not want my 5-year-old to be forever traumatized by finding the remains of a human being in the backyard. And so she still went to school that day. I still went to work. Personally, I was prepared to write the entire situation off as some unfortunate coincidence. A rational explanation would soon be provided by the detectives. In a matter of days or weeks, we could chalk up the whole experience to some unknown cold case from the 50s or something. Maybe we'd be on TV. That night, Isabella talked about Pretty Little Thing at the dinner table. She said she wished he could eat with us. She said she wished I never gave him away. I found those comments to be downright creepy, so I disciplined her by taking away television for the week. Izzy did not take the punishment well. She stomped her feet upstairs with a pout and a look that made my heart drop an octave lower. I hated to do it, but something needed to curb that attitude. I went to bed that night with a guilty conscience about Izzy, worry from the skull, and growing anxiety about the approaching storm. The weatherman claimed it would be biblical. Schools and offices had already been shut down for the following day. I fell asleep to the first raps of rain against our shutters. I woke up sometime later to a particularly loud crack of thunder. It was late. The dim screen of my cell phone read well past 2 in the morning. Immediately, my mind drifted back towards my daughter, and the guilt of the last 24 hours rose to the surface once more. I had not even checked on her before bed. I had been so mad about the fight and the skull and the weird nickname, I neglected to even tuck her in. I convinced myself to get up and check. I battled the nightstand drawer for my glasses. As my feet found the cold wood floor, I heard a faint noise from the hallway, and I wondered if Izzy was feeling some of the same guilt. I waited for her to tumble into my room in a tiny little mess with 1,000 little apologies and a request to sleep with me. But the sound of footsteps moved slowly, drifted away from my room and towards her door. I listened closely and began to notice that something about the steps was different. There was no carefree skip and a usual dance around the creaky floorboards. I did not hear the muffled tone of her squeaky little slippers or a whisper of "Daddy" through the door. Instead, I heard scratching, slow dragging that lazed its way down the hallway. Then, my daughter's bedroom door opened. The creaking of rusted hinges was unavoidable. Anyone ever attempting to be quiet in my house would ultimately meet their end at her door. A loud, obnoxious, whiny filled the air. Then, a cold, uncomfortable, deep voice echoed behind it. "Ah, pretty little thing. I had a few pretty little things like you once." The threat of another person inside the house kicked me into gear. I threw open my own door and darted down the hallway, stubbing my toe on a loose board and cursing along the way. Exasperated, I arrived at the end of the long hallway and pushed my way into my daughter's room in a boxer stance, ready to fight. Standing in front of me was one of the most disturbing scenes I have ever seen in my life. My daughter was awake. She stared at me with helplessly wide eyes as a figure sat perched over her bed. I gasped, and the thing turned to me slowly, allowing a full view of its horrible disfigurement of a face in the shadows of the dark. It looked like a man, once, before something tore away half of its features. A sickly pale smile played across half of its face as the being leered in my direction. A hole peeked out from the back of its head. "That's a pretty little thing you got there. Looks tasty too. How old is she now?" I backed away a bit. I didn't know what to do. My cell phone and any weapons I kept for self-defense were back in the other room, and even then, I think I knew they wouldn't do any good. Panic rushed over me like a cold wave. I shouted for Isabel to hide and got ready to fight for my daughter's life. Then Iz did something stupidly simple. She turned on the nightlight. Suddenly, the room became awash in a bright blue glow that reached into every dark corner. I shielded my eyes from the strength for a second. When I opened them, the human skeleton sitting on my daughter's bed was gone. It just disappeared. Isabel and I slept in a hotel that night, and every night until I sold the dang place. Look, I know this sounds crazy. Most of you won't believe me, and that's fine. I get it, and I don't blame you. Everyone has their own crazy ghost encounter, and each sounds as unlikely as the last, so don't worry about it. But one detail did emerge during my attempts to sell the house that convinced me of the authenticity of our shared encounter. The police finally received a DNA match on the skull fragment. It belonged to a John G. Blakely. He owned that particular plot of land in the 40s before it was developed. John developed quite a reputation in my home state. He had murdered 10 young girls, all around the time of their 8th birthday. He disappeared when the police started to close in. His remains had never been found, until now. I don't know what kind of creature attached itself to my daughter. I don't know why it called her pretty little thing. I can only imagine. But I do know one thing for sure. We are never going in that house again. And that's the end of the story. Oh my goodness. That gave me legitimate chills. I'm so freaked out by that story. It is so not far-fetched. It's something that totally could occur, and why a pretty little thing? It just makes my stomach turn. And like, you don't want to think the most disgusting or the worst, but it kind of leads you in that direction, and either way, he clearly formed some sick attachment to her. I guess like my biggest question though is, how come when they moved out, things seemed to be okay? I mean, he never said it, but I'm assuming, because they said they're never going back to the house again. Was it that this entity was attached to her, or spirit was attached to her, or was it more so attached to the house, and it came for her because she was around the age of the children that he killed? You guys know the drill. As per usual, please take to the comment section below. Be kind to one another in doing so, but let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think happened? What do you think would have happened if they didn't flee the house? Why do you think he called her pretty little thing? Anything and everything you think about this story, drop it down below. I'll be reading through all of your comments because you guys know I love nothing more than hearing your guys' theories. Other than that, that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. I super enjoyed this story. If you're new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed, but you do enjoy my videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button, join the Reese's Pieces, and please give this video a big thumbs up while you are at it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until tomorrow, I love you guys.